News Radio 1000, KTOK, Gwin Faulconer Lippert here with you on this Sunday evening, talking MAPS 3 this hour. Now it's time for us to get another view of MAPS 3. Not everyone is supporting it. Joining me next is Representative Mike Reynolds. He represents in the State House District 91, and he has agreed to come on with me this evening and talk to many of the points that I just talked with Councilman Larry McAtee about. So, Representative Reynolds, thank you so much for joining me on a Sunday evening. Let me just start with you like I started with Councilman McAtee. I asked different listeners to provide me with their questions about MAPS 3. And one of the things that came out from these people was they thought that this MAPS 3 was going to be maps for tourists. Do you see it that way?
Oh gosh, Gwen, maps for tourists. I haven't heard that question before. I suppose it could be. I don't know that I would characterize it that way. I think one thing it's maps for the Chamber of Commerce, which is just an outreach of the Oklahoma City Council.
And is that a bad thing?
Is it a bad thing? Well, I think improvements to our city are not a bad thing, but I think improvements to the city off the backs of taxpayers with misrepresentations and things of that nature can certainly be a bad thing.
Now, why do you say misrepresentations?
Well, we've heard on on a couple of the previous maps, though, how we'll do this with no new taxes. We hear it with bond issues. We hear it with a number of things all the time. No new taxes. It is a new tax. I am so tired of people saying it's not a new tax. It is absolutely a new tax. It's a tax that is going to assess 1 penny for a number of years. And granted, that penny was going to go away next year, but it's a new tax. We were all going to get a 1% pay raise next year by this temporary sales tax that was put on us years ago disappearing. It's a new tax. I'll refute anybody that says it's not a new tax.
So do you, subscribe to the club of once a tax, it never goes away, that there are just some people that can't let that money go?
Well, I subscribe to the club that way too often, once a tax is implemented, it almost never goes away. We've had some success at the state legislature. For example, the income tax rate in Oklahoma has been reduced from, I think, 7% to 5.25. But it's major battles. Once a bureaucrat lays their hands on that money, it seems virtually impossible for them to deny that it was ever a temporary type of tax.
And so, in addition to talking to me this evening, where are you presenting this point of view?
I haven't done anything yet, but I do expect that I'll be doing some work, certainly in my district, to let my voters know where I stand on the issue. It's as a state representative, I only have one vote, just like every other constituent in my district, with regard to this tax. But a lot of people look at us for an example as to how we think about these issues, and I'll probably be doing some publicity in my district saying that I am not for this tax, and here's what you get if you vote for it.
Yes, no doubt. You are an opinion leader, and I appreciate the fact that you are willing to come forward. It has been somewhat challenging for me to find people. I have many people that say, no, I'm not going to vote for it, or no, I'm not going to go vote, or whatever, but they don't want to come on the radio and they don't want to talk about it. So I appreciate your taking the time to talk about these things.
Well, I would like to comment on that. I think there's a great intimidation factor when you have a clientele like the state chamber, the city chamber, and their backers that are very wealthy, that benefit massively from these taxes. They can talk about being visionaries and how we're improving Oklahoma City. But you know what? South Oklahoma City could be improved mightily if we tax the north side to build improvements down there, and the north side could be improved mightily if we tax the south side. This is just a group of people that think that they need to build up downtown inner city Oklahoma City and they've done it off the backs of taxpayers in my district for way too long.
Now, there has been the statement to me that this is the park. The Central Park is really just a beautiful front lawn for the Devon construction. Do you view it that way?
Not exactly. I would consider it a beautiful front lawn for the developers that are going to benefit massively from building condominiums around the park, more than the Devon front lawn. If they built a brand new park in South Oklahoma City and people were able to obtain the property around that park, the value of those properties would skyrocket because the people would want to build their homes there.
Good point. How is it that you were able to see that and very few other people are, I think they're just overwhelmed by the idea of $777 million?
Well, I don't know why other people don't see it. Maybe other people believe more in, well, there's a lot of people that believe that we can have free health care for everybody. There's a lot of people that have different opinions about different things, but I subscribe to the theory that money does not grow on trees, despite what people that advocate tax increases seem to indicate.
It is hard to be against something that sounds so much fun, doesn't it?
No, actually, it's really pretty easy once you get to the truth of it. America was founded on as a capitalistic type of society, not a socialistic type of society, and this just redistributes wealth from one area of Oklahoma City to another. And it's real easy if you just understand what you stand for, as opposed to, well, golly, wouldn't that be great? Who can argue that Bricktown is wonderful? Well, I can argue that Bricktown's wonderful. I won't argue that it's got beautiful facilities and things of that nature, but what benefit is it to the economy of South Oklahoma City? What good is it that Bass Pro was constructed, which takes away revenues from the Academy on South I-240? I can argue that all day long.
There are those people that took time and responded to the MAPS survey, the MAPS 3 survey, before they announced the plans and all that thing. Number one on their survey was transit. And I mean, it was transit like to bring people in from Midwest City, bring people from Edmond downtown. I mean, to get people into the business core, if you will. And yet they are concerned that this small transit project downtown really doesn't represent what they thought MAPS should do.
Yeah, I think ideas are tossed out, and they seem to be, this would be really great if we did this, that, or the other, but they're not fleshed out, and the devil becomes in the details, and we don't have enough details about that aspect of it as well as many of the other aspects.
One of the things I was able to talk to the councilman about was he announced his running for his next term of office. I think he said he had 2 more years in this one, but then he's going to run again to make sure that it happens. But Councilman Walters has pointed out that something that you alluded to just a few minutes ago, that it's going to be up to these councilmen or the new councilmen in 10 years to follow through with their commitments to different projects. Do you think we're setting ourselves up for big disappointment or temptation?
Oh, absolutely. This tax is going to last. I think the first use of the tax, personally, is going to be to pay off the lack of revenue received on the previous MAPS tax for the basketball facilities. They're going to have a shortfall there, and without this new tax, they don't have a way to generate the income for that. So I expect one of the first issues at the City Council, if this passes, will be to rearrange their priorities and make sure that they can pay off the basketball facilities.
Interesting. I don't think I had anticipated that. I don't think I even thought about that kind of a thing. What other things do you think we should be thinking about when looking in the crystal ball, looking into the future?
Well, I think it's time for someone to have the vision of what we can do with less government intervention instead of more government intervention. What we can do to encourage private enterprise, besides taking money away from one taxpayer and giving it to a private enterprise that is friendly with a council member or a state representative or a state senator or any other